Stashing handcuffed running backs is about to pay off in such a big way. While the running back position has had a historically healthy season so far, we are starting to see some cracks in the foundation. Just in the last 13 days, we have lost J.K. Dobbins to IR, Austin Eckler to IR, Christian McCaffrey to IR, Jordan Mason to IR, Breece Hall, he's out in week 14, and there's talk that he could be shut down for the year, and Kenneth Walker out for week 14. And that's just the beginning. These running backs who have somehow stayed healthy all season, more than we've ever seen before. This is the most injury-ravaged position every season. But these running backs are going to start going down in bunches. We're already seeing it. That means we need to be stashing handcuff running backs now more than ever. Don't wait until another guy goes down and hope that you can pick up his backup. Get ahead of the game. Beat your league mates to the punch. So much of fantasy football is reactionary. But this is our opportunity to be proactive and get ahead of our competition. Drop your tight end 2s, drop your tight end 3s and your backup quarterbacks and all those wide receivers you are never going to start. It's okay. Let them go. If you love them, let them go. I'm talking about guys like Michael Pittman. Drop him. Tank Dell. Drop him. Romeo Dobbs. Drop him. Pick up guys who could actually become league winners. Blake Corum, Trey Benson, Ray Davis, Kamani Vidal. The list goes on. These are instant starters in your lineup if anything happens to James Conner or Kyron Williams or James Cook. We're seeing this play out in real time this week. Isaac Guerendo, everyone just spent all of their fab trying to get Isaac Guerendo, and they're starting him. League winner. Braylon Allen, an RB2 this week. Zach Charbonnet, an RB2 this week. Stop hoarding useless bench guys with zero upside and stash some guys who can actually become difference makers on your roster. And speaking of injuries, let's take a look at the Week 14 injury report. Week 14 injury report. Let's look at the left-hand column to begin. This is the guys who are clear to play. These are the guys who are going to actually play in Week 14. Amari Cooper, he's actually going to play. He's good to go. Keenan Allen, good to go. Jamar Chase, good to go. I'm not going to go through the whole list, obviously. Parker Washington had a nice little week last week with Mac Jones at quarterback. Shoulder injury, but he is good to go. Amir Abdullah's good to go. Jawan Johnson is good to go. Devontae Smith is back in the lineup this week. He was close last week. He's back this week from that hamstring injury. He's good to go. As is Brock Purdy. Zach Charbonnet is good to go, and he's going to be the starter. Baker Mayfield got banged up last week. He's good to go. Mike Evans popped up this week again, but he's good to go. And CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, they are good to go for Monday Night Football. Also expected to play this week. Jacoby Myers has an ankle injury, but he's expected to play. Not officially clear, but he's expected to play. Tommy DeVito, forearm injury. He's expected to be active, but obviously he's not going to start. Drew Lock is still going to start there for the Giants, at least for one more week. George Pickens expected to play. Bucky Irving got really banged up last week. The dude was just battling. You could tell the dude was sore. He was hurting, but he kept battling through it, and he was playing good. He was playing damn good football. He's got a hip injury. He's got a back injury, but he is expected to play. Fire up Bucky Irving. He could be a league winner this year. And Kendre Miller. Kendre Miller is expected to be back in action. They actually activated him today. We'll see if he actually gets onto the active roster as far as like the starting roster, the game day roster, I should say, tomorrow. But it's looking like Kendre Miller is going to play. Up in the air, Dalton Kincaid. These are the true game time decisions. Dalton Kincaid with that knee. Keon Coleman with a wrist. Jatavian Sanders missed only one game with that neck injury. He could be back as soon as this week. DJ Moore is expected to play. He has a quad injury that came up this week. DeAndre Swift, same thing, also a quad injury, but he's expected to play. Missed some practice this week, but he should be good to go. But we'll see what happens. These are game time decisions, I should say. Alexander Madison, Ladd McConkey has a shoulder and a knee injury. Raheem Mostert with a hip. Malik Neighbors has a hip. And Trey Benson has a hip. Doubtful is Jalen Coker. And then officially out for this week, Roschon Johnson with a concussion. Cedric Tillman has missed a couple of games now with his concussion. Samir White is still out. Dallas Goedert was actually placed on IR today. Jordan Mason was placed on IR today. Breece Hall is expected to miss at least week 14, possibly beyond. Mecole Hardman he injured his knee during practice this week. He's on IR. And Kenneth Walker officially out for Sunday Night Football for the Seahawks. So fire up Zach Charbonnet. I got 5 trends you need to know. 5 trends you need to know before week 14. We'll start with the Chiefs running back situation. Last week, we saw Isaiah Pacheco return to the lineup. And in that game, Kareem Hunt only played 38% of the snaps. Now, that was still leading the backfield. Pacheco played about 36.6%. Samaje Perine mixed in for his usual 25.4%. The touches, the carries at least were 50-50. 7 carries, Kareem Hunt. 7 carries, Isaiah Pacheco. I believe Kareem Hunt had 5 targets, no targets for Isaiah Pacheco. But in the first game back, with how well, Kareem Hunt has been playing, Isaiah Pacheco's first game back from a broken leg, hasn't played since week 2. He's already 50% split with Kareem Hunt. I think we're going to see that ramped up significantly this week. And by the time we get into the fantasy playoffs, the semifinals, the finals, we're going to have full-blown usual role for Isaiah Pacheco. He broke off a big run in his first game back, coming off a broken damn leg. I feel really good about Isaiah Pacheco rest of the year. Number 2 trend you need to know before week 14, Chargers running back situation. So obviously we know J.K. Dobbins last week. It was the first game without J.K. Dobbins. Gus Edwards played 52% of the snap. He had a significant lead in snap share in that backfield. He actually doubled up on Kamani Vidal. Gus Edwards played 24 snaps. Kamani Vidal played 12 snaps. And then Hassan Haskins mixed in for about 15% of the snaps as well. I do think that there's a chance because Gus Edwards is Gus Edwards. He's got a cap ceiling. He's not the most efficient running back. He's not an explosive running back. He gets the job done. Obviously, Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh, they like him. There's history there with those guys. He's going to be the guy for now. But there's a chance. There's a chance because Kamani Vidal is knocking on that door, man. He's knocking on that door. At some point, he's going to break through it. I don't think he's going to take over the backfield, but at some point, Kamani Vidal is going to have a significant opportunity share in this backfield. That could really spoil anybody who thinks that they're going to count on Gus Edwards as an RB2 or a flex play in the fantasy playoffs. You got to keep Kamani Vidal stashed. 1, because his role is going to increase, but 2, if anything happens to Gus Edwards, we just talked about handcuff running backs. I talk about handcuff running backs all the damn time. If anything happens, Kamani Vidal is going to have a significant role in that backfield. He would play ahead of Hassan Haskins. He's explosive. He's an explosive playmaker. So keep an eye on Kamani Vidal. The 3rd trend you need to know before week 14, Parker Washington. It's Bye-Mageddon 2.0 this week. Got 6 teams on a bye. Parker Washington was a top 3 wide receiver in PPR scoring last week. Not only that, he led the Jaguars with Mac Jones at quarterback for most of that game. He had a 29% target share, had 12 total targets. Now, obviously, I don't expect Mac Jones to throw the volume that he did last week, combined with Trevor Lawrence on a game. But Parker Washington is looking like a significant part of the Jaguars pass game with Christian Kirk out, with Gabe Davis out. Parker Washington's an interesting play, at least by Mageddon week. You might be able to fire up some Parker Washington if you need a deep sleeper, wide receiver 3, a flex. You could do a lot worse than Parker Washington. The number 4 trend you need to know before week 14 is Blake Corum is coming. Corum is coming, baby. Blake Corum played a season high 32% of the snaps in week 13. His previous high came in week 11, which was 19%. So this was a significant jump for Blake Corum. I'm not saying he's going to take over the backfield or even be in a 50-50 split. I'm not saying that. That ship has sailed, sadly, for now, for 2024. We'll talk some more about that in 2025. But for now, this is obviously Kyrie Williams' backfield. However, it's looking like the Rams are finally starting to get the ball rolling on actually ramping up Blake Corum's role in that backfield, which is going to hurt Kyrie Williams. It's going to hurt Kyrie Williams. I don't think it's going to get to the point where Blake Corum is, a good, comfortable start in fantasy unless something does happen to Kyrie Williams, unless we have an injury to Kyrie Williams. That's not going to happen, I don't think. Not now. But this is a situation to monitor. It's just a trend to know, trend to watch. Keep your eye on this. See if I'm interested to see what happens this week. What happens, next time that offense takes the field? Do we see a similar share, a similar increase in that backfield? Or does Blake Corum just go right back down to his, 15% snaps? We'll see. And then the number 5 trend you need to know heading into week 14, the Panthers backfield. That is starting to see a ramp up. So the first game Jonathan Brooks played in week 12? He barely did anything. He had 2 touches, played 8% of the snaps. It was just a full-blown Chuba Hubbard show, just as predicted. Last week, it got cranked. It got cranked a little bit. But it was significant compared to the week before. And Chuba Hubbard still played 78% of the snaps. It was only Jonathan Brooks for 21%, but that was up significantly for him from, I think, like I said, 8% from week 12. And the touches, though, is where it got interesting. Chuba Hubbard, 12 touches in that game. Tough Chiefs defense. They were all carries, by the way. Jonathan Brooks, 9 touches in that game. So just 3 fewer touches than Chuba Hubbard. That's significant. 6 of those came on carries. 3 of them were targets. So we're going to keep monitoring this Panthers backfield. This could become, I don't think it's ever going to become the Jonathan Brooks show in 2024. However, this could end up becoming a 50-50 split and just destroy Chuba Hubbard for fantasy purposes. Keep an eye on it. Keep watching. Let's get to underdog play. Usually I only give 1 or 2. I got 3 for you this week. I got 3 underdog plays for you this week. The first one I am playing, and then we'll get to any questions. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat now, because after we do the underdog play, we're going to get to your questions before we wrap up the show. Brandon Cooks, higher than 27.5 receiving yards is my first underdog play for week 14. Brandon Cooks returned in week 13 from his knee infection. He missed a significant portion of the season. Came back, kind of eased his way into the offense. He only played about 40% of the snaps, ran 54% of the routes, but he was targeted 7 times. Despite the limited, time on the field, that's a pretty good number. 7 targets, 19% target share. He's going to get ramped up over the next couple of weeks, including this week. He's going to get more routes, more snaps. And Cooper Rush, over the last 3 games, he's averaging 41 pass attempts per game. And now they get the Bengals, who probably the best offense the Cowboys have seen in a while. The defense is terrible. There's going to be a lot of points scored on the Bengals side of this because the Cowboys defense is also terrible. And they're starting to trust Cooper Rush to throw the ball more. So we're going to get some pretty significant passing volume in this game from Cooper Rush, which is only going to play in the hands of Brandon Cooks. The Bengals, they're the 5th easiest matchup for wide receivers when adjusted for opponent. And game script is going to call for a lot of passing in this game. Brandon Cooks is going to smash the higher on this line of 27.5 receiving yards. Play that. And when you sign up for Underdog, make sure you use promo code YARDSPER. They're going to give you a free pick as well as a beautiful deposit offer of up to $1,000. That's promo code YARDSPER on Underdog. Let's get to the next play, and that is Jonathan Brooks higher than 18.5 rushing yards against the Eagles. We just talked about Jonathan Brooks. I think that role is going to get ramped up a little bit more. 18.5 rushing yards. That's nothing. That's nothing. I know it's a tough Eagles defense. I know it's a split backfield. It's still a shaky Panthers offense. 18.5 yards. The dude can get to 19 yards. Play it. And then finally, let's wrap it up with Will Levis, higher than 216.5 passing yards. Will Levis has been playing good. He's been playing pretty decent football over the last few weeks. Over the last 4, Will Levis, he is number 2 in yards per attempt. He's averaging over 8 yards per attempt over the last 4 weeks. He's also top 10 in passing yards over the last 4 weeks. He's got a couple of weapons. Calvin Ridley's playing well. Nick Westbrook-Akine is playing well. Nick Westbrook-Akine has become a touchdown machine. I think we can play Will Levis higher than 216.5 passing yards. Like I said, when you sign up on Underdog, make sure you use promo code YARDSPER. Get that nice special free pick'em and a deposit offer of up to $1,000. All right. Let's Mr. Magic has a question in the chat. Should we go Jackson Smith and Jigba, DK Metcalf, or Jacoby Myers in PPR this week? Ooh, I love them all. Can we fire them all up? Wow, I love them all. Jacoby Myers, I love for the rest of the year. Fire up Jacoby Myers. Jackson Smith and Jigba has league winner written all over him, but then you got DK Metcalf. How do we choose? I got to pull up my rankings for this one. My gut is telling me it's JSN. But man, Jacoby Myers, he's coming in with a little bit of an injury, and he's got Aiden O'Connell as his quarterback. But the matchup this week against the Buccaneers are terrible in the secondary. Let's pull them up. All right, let's see. We got Jacoby Myers is my wide receiver 16. Jackson Smith and Jigba is my wide receiver 19. And DK Metcalf is my wide receiver 24. I can't believe I'm saying it. We're going to go Jacoby Myers. I can't believe I'm saying it. But they're all, like I said, they're all in my top 24. I think we can play them all. I really do. Find a way to get them in your lineup. These are all good plays this week. All right, but if we don't have any other questions, that's our show. Fastest show of the year. I know I did skip the ones to watch and have ones to watch this week. We know who we're watching. We're watching Isaac Guerendo. We're watching. You could probably stash, by the way. One quick thing. Talked about handcuffs. Israel Abandakanda. The 49ers claimed him off waivers. Israel Abandakanda. He's a second year. I think he was a 5th round pick of the Jets last year. Kind of got, shuffled out of the mix. They drafted 2 running backs this year. Whatever. But Israel Abandakanda, he's a big back. He's explosive. He's got some speed. He's kind of Isaac Guerendo light. He really is. And when I was doing our prospect profiles, our scouting reports for the yards per fantasy rookie draft guide last year, I remember specifically mentioning Israel Abandakanda would be a fantastic fit in a Kyle Shanahan style rushing attack. He is meant for that outside zone rushing scheme, those concepts that the 49ers deploy offensively. So if anything happens to Isaac Guerendo is a league winner. But if anything happens to him and the way things have been going with that 49ers backfield, the whole 49ers team, you never know. And I know Patrick Taylor is still there as well. But if Israel Abanikanda gets on the field, he could be worth something. Keep him stashed. So I got another show coming up in about 1 hour, 9:15, right here on the Yards Per Fantasy YouTube channel. We're going to go deep. We're going to talk sleepers and streamers for Week 14. Myself and my co-host, Sam, we're going to get on here. We also give bold predictions at the end of the show, and we get a few questions for you as well. So check that out. 1 hour, right here on the Yards Per Fantasy YouTube channel. Until then, have a good night.